Okay, well, I have started the recording, or at least I think I did that. Yep, I did it correctly. So, making sure everybody knows we are recording, and it's the top of the hour. So, I want to honor your time, and we'll get started. My name is Keisha McKinney, and my co-host tonight is Carol, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a little bit. But I will ask a favor as we get started, and I'll probably repeat this a couple times since we have folks that'll pop in on us. We want to make sure and do a follow-up. And since this was such a wide range of people that we were able to invite to participate on this, if you could do us a favor and in the chat box to everyone, if you could share your name, where you're from or where you relay, and then if you want the follow-up information to this, if you'll put your email address in there too, and that way we make sure we've gathered all that information. And like I said, I'll probably repeat that a couple times, but it's fun, especially with this one. This is a nationwide call. We invited volunteers from east to west, north to south, and out in the ocean if they're hanging out there too. So we want to know. It's just fun to sometimes see where folks are from and who's represented. So I'll type here in just a minute when I'm not talking, because I'm not great at talking and not pausing when I do that. But like I said, my name is Keisha McKinney. And I tonight am coming to you from South Arkansas. I grew up in Texas. I live in Arkansas, and we live close enough that we actually relay in Oklahoma. So covering lots of bases there, but I'm a volunteer just like you guys. I got started in relay and because somebody asked me to. It's how hopefully a lot of us that just started, is somebody just asked us and we said yes. And you know, that role looks different over the years, whether I was the girl who came and walked overnight, that's how I started, to team captain, to event chair. I've served in online positions and then had the opportunity later to serve as a voice of hope for the Mid-South Division, which is now part of South Region. And so just a fun opportunity to get to train those folks. And now, like so many of you, just taking things I love to do, things I'm more interested in, and just get to play that out for the American Cancer Society through Relay for Life. I'm trying to think, I'm a 10-year cancer survivor and a new mom, and so it's just been a fun year of getting to celebrate that big 10-year cancer anniversary and have my little miracle man that we didn't know 10 years ago would ever get to come. To take him with me to the doctor this year was a really fun thing. So tonight is really for us, we do not in any way intend for it to be exhaustive. We don't have that kind of time tonight, but what we want to do is get started. We want to launch, and we know literally, I put this in my notes, but we know literally we have someone coming to us from Silicon Valley, but it goes all the way to small rural towns in, you know, the panhandle of Florida that were invited to this. And we know that with that also are different skill sets, as far as some people who work in this field of digital media professionally, and then some folks who, Kendra, Silicon Valley, you helped me out with that. But just, we know that everyone comes to the table with something different tonight. And so we're going to try to scratch the surface, bring us all to one place as far as just some things to be thinking about. And then our hope in the South region, we're really trying to do some more, and that's what's brought us to tonight, is to just expand that into how can we nationwide do more to support you guys in your role and coach you as we're able to. So we hope just over the next couple years that we see some wider trainings happen for these roles, and we'll take any feedback as we go along of new ideas or things like that that would be helpful. So I think that's really my main thing with where we are. And really, I don't want to ever get away from this. Thank you for your time tonight. It is huge to give up time in the evening with your families to away from work or whatever that is for you on your commute to just spend with us. So be safe if you're driving, but also just thanks for the time. And we're going to try to honor that with the content that we do share with you tonight. And I will say, use the chat box. We'll try to trade off as we're doing things. If we need to address something, if a question comes up, that'll just give us a good space to interact. and there'll be times when you're welcome to unmute yourself and talk to us that way if it's better. But we definitely want this to be interactive where it can. And there's a hard and a bulk in the middle of this, but then at the end, we're going to kind of look at some actual pages, Facebook pages and things like that are for some of our events, and just talk through great things that are happening and opportunities. So Carol, I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Again, I'm Carol Roeder, and I am from sunny Phoenix. And I am delighted to partner with Keisha today on this presentation to all of you. I started this several months ago, and I rolled out something similar for Making Strides, and there was some true, genuine interest, and we thought, let's see if we can expand it a little bit to Relay, and here we are. And so I'm really thrilled that that we have this opportunity to share some information with you. Like Keisha said, we are just going to scratch the surface. And I'm thrilled that you have taken some time to join us. And I hope that you find it helpful. So like Keisha said, if you put your name and your email address in the chat box, we can send you some follow-up information, but we can also send you a survey, because what's really important to us is that we know how we did. Is this helpful to you? What else would you like to see? What didn't you need? What do you need? We depend on you, and we'd love to deliver and meet your expectations or even exceed them. Just real quick behind the scenes, I've been with the American Cancer Society for almost 20 years, and what's really ironic is 3 months after I started here, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So as life goes on and chapters turn, you are always put in the right place at the right time for the right reasons. So I feel incredibly grateful. I also have, because I'm a staff person and I cover so many different areas, I can't even claim one Relay as my own. I tend to go where I'm needed, and then I support people in that way. So I feel like it has introduced me to a lot of venues and a lot of personalities, and I'm really grateful for that too. So we have got lots of data and resources and tips and tools for you, so let's get started. And the first place we're going to start is with the word consistency. In front of you is the three primary or three essential venues that all of our online and communications people work in, and that's our website, the e-communications, and the Facebook. In terms of your website, just make sure you visit that at least once a week and keep it current. And then the e-communications are set up on a schedule which is tried and true. We encourage you to follow that. And then leave yourself some wiggle room in case you offer a challenge, or if there's some breaking news like some research that you want to talk about via your e-communications. And then the third component, which is what we're going to spend most of our time talking about tonight, is Facebook. But the net is that consistency is so critical, because no matter who or no matter where your community and your volunteers and your participants go for information, you want to make sure that they're all getting the same information and that it's consistent across all three venues. Let's see. This slide reminds me to tell you that a lot of what we covered tonight is available to you in the Relay for Life social media playbook, and that's available for you on Brand Toolkit or Relay Connect. We'll also try to send you the link after the call tonight, so it's a big file, huge. It's full of amazing information, and both Keisha and I highly recommend it. So we'll try to send you the link, but if you want to just do a little investigating on your own, you will find it in Brand Toolkit and Relay Connect. So the next thing we want to know is why Facebook. And there are several social media options available to us. We've got Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. But according to Pew Research Center, right now, Facebook has the greatest population of social users are on Facebook. They're on other ones too, but that's where most of them are. And Facebook, the demographics for Facebook, most consistently mirror the American Cancer Society volunteers. So that's where we're starting tonight. Now, do you want to go and open it up to Instagram and Twitter? That's, you know what, if that works for you and that's where your customers or your community or your participants are living, that's great. But tonight we're going to focus on Facebook because it keeps everybody kind of in a central point. Just real quick, like this year, Facebook went over 2 million or 2 billion users. And about, what do I know, something like 50% of them, 75% of them are online every day checking their Facebook. So we feel like we're going where people are at and where they can come to us for information. So let's move on to the next section, which talks about what will you post on Facebook. And one of the things that's really important is balance. Balance is key to relevance. Relevance fuels mission and revenue. And that's something that we'll talk about repeatedly tonight, and that is the match or the pair between relevance and revenue. And in order to be relevant, you need to share information that's meaningful to your community. And it's something that they can connect with. And what is relevant to me is probably different than what's relevant to you. So this slide gives you something to choose from, and so that you can use a variety of information and touch those relevant points with each person in the community. Truly, some of the best social posts that people will respond to are messages about you telling your best friend why Relay and the Society's mission of saving lives is important to you. It's personal. It's something about you and how you share it. So these boxes on the screen are going to give you some opportunities and some ideas about different kinds of content that you can share. The recruitment message will almost always be about recruitment and building teams and asking people to join you and asking people to give. But I think what's really important is that you also talk about motivation and how people can help you. But fundamentally is the lifestyle, and that's where it gets really personal, and you get to talk about why. Why is Relay for Life important in your community? Yes, it's about the mission, and yes, it's got, and you're going to have fun. But you know what? When you start telling a story about somebody in your community who's benefited from the American Cancer Society because of money that was raised at Relay for Life, you've now honed in on the why, and you've given meaning to your event. Feel free to use all of these. It's very possible that if you make a post that you could touch two or three of these boxes at the same time, and that's okay. Let's go to one of the biggest questions that everybody has, whether you're a social media newbie or a seasoned expert, and that is, how do I get the best results from my social media efforts? And what do we mean by results? For me, it's posts and comments and shares and engagement, and then it's returning registrations and participants and new teams and sponsors. So for the next few minutes, Keisha will share some great tips, tools, and best practices that will drive up your relevance and your revenue.
Thanks, Carol. And we already had one question come through that's going to be a perfect segue, actually, I think, in just a couple slides about if some content was going to be updated. So keep going. If you guys have questions, post those there in the chat, and we will make sure we address them or get you answers if we don't have them with us tonight. This slide is something we're going to sit on for just a little bit because I know it has a lot of content on it. The things in the middle are just super helpful as kind of, I would say this is kind of the biggest meat of tonight as far as lots of little things to do, but I'm going to focus as far as what I verbally say about the 6 boxes on the left. And again, if you're just listening, we'll make sure you get the deck to read all of the bullet points in the middle. Most of them will be mentioned in my content, so you're not completely missing too much. And as Carol said, we are focusing specifically, we're talking Facebook as a platform tonight, but many of these principles will apply if you are a college event or you're in an area where Instagram is more prevalent or more helpful. We know a lot of events are using Instagram and pushing their content from Instagram to Facebook. So we get that. We know that that's how a lot of folks are using it. We're just using Facebook because of our population and traditional demographic of Relay. It's who it connects with most, so that's where we're starting. But again, so many of these principles as far as content as a whole can be applied to your other social platforms that you're using as you go throughout the year. The first thing I just wanted to touch briefly on, and it's really funny, we've done this in the past to some of our states in the South region, and tonight to have a volunteer from Silicon Valley whose event is sponsored by Facebook is really kind of a surreal moment for me, if I'm being honest, as I'm talking through this and going, I needed to double check my content. So you guys roll with it, and much of this, you guys will be able to add or feedback as we go through it. But the first thing they're listed there is the algorithm, and I just want to mention it briefly. It's a nerdy word for basically the thing in the background of any one of these platforms that make them work. So if you land, if you're looking in your app at Facebook, or you're looking on your computer desktop at Facebook, and you see the list of things there when you show up, that's called a news feed. And there is this little quirky thing in the background that makes certain things show up to you more often, certain people, certain pages, certain groups, and that's called an algorithm. And it changes often. It frustrates us when it does it, but I do feel like one of the biggest things that Facebook, especially with the changes they made at the beginning of this year, they're trying to put the content in front of us always that we want to see. And they have lots of teams that are deciding that for us. And really, one of the best tools I've ever seen to help describe that is it was an infographic that used Batman and kind of his relationships to the people around him to describe why things show up in front of us. We know that these platforms are used for lots of propaganda, to sell ads, to do all that kind of stuff. And so Facebook and the changes it's made this year has done a little bit more to get those things we care about back in front of us. So whether I want to see Uncle Greg's cat all the time or not, it's going to do that. But going back to that Batman thing, so Batman and Robin are best friends, and they hang out, they do everything together. And so if Batman and Robin were on Facebook together, most everything that Robin posts would show up in Batman's feed, because he's going to like it, he's going to comment, he's probably tagged in some of it. They do a lot of things together. But Joker, this other relationship that kind of hangs out there with Batman and Joker don't often interact, because that's what Robin's there for, to do his dirty work. And so Robin might see everything Joker posts, but Batman's only going to see things every now and then, just because they don't interact with each other that often. And the same is true of how content shows up to us as Facebook users. So you may have people say, well, I just never see the stuff you post. Well, that's probably because of how they interact with you. And to do real life relationships, my husband doesn't do much on Facebook or really any social media, but when he does, I'm either usually tagged in it because it's a photo of both of us, or I comment or interact with it. Now, my dad, who is kind of an overexposer on Facebook, I don't like and comment his stuff all the time just because I don't. And so he's often the one that says, you don't ever comment on it. Well, now I don't really see his stuff that often because I don't like and comment on it. So the same is true for those pages, those people, those groups and things that we are connected to. So if you have people in your community that are saying, well, I just never see the stuff you guys post, maybe encourage them a little exercise over the course of a month to just really interact with your stuff. Bonus, it helps you, but that's how they're going to get those things in their feed, and to see them more often, they're going to see more of the things that they like more often than just randomly because they have all these friends. They're never going to see everything that everyone they're friends with posts. So the same is true of pages that you follow, but maybe you don't see their stuff as often. Do the same thing. Give yourself an opportunity to exercise and go just like or comment or share, interact with the stuff that they're posting. And then that way they're more likely to show up in your feed. and be, that information come to you instead of you always having to search it out. So that's a little bit about the algorithm. Way more things we could go into, but I know sometimes people are just like, how does this show up or not? And that's what it's based on. With people and with our content, really think about the term connection or connect. Most anyone who is on Facebook or any social media platform is living in a space of what's in it for me. So if we as an organization, and I'm going to consider your local Relay for Life event page an organization, think about the person who's coming and collecting the information on our page. We need to remember they're looking for what's in it for them. We may have an agenda, we may have something that we want to push in front of them, but unless it has that little factor that's going to draw them in about themselves, they're less likely to interact with it. And we just talked about the fact that the more they interact with something, the more it's going to show up on their page. So just remember that that's kind of their angle and perspective that they're coming from, is that what's in it for me perspective. And you want them to engage, you want them to like, comment, share, interact with that post so that they continue to see those things. So just look for that connection to them of how they're going to, I call it digital nuggets. Like, what are the little things that they can bite as they go along? We don't have to give them the full everything up front, but what are little things that they can digest, come back to us, get the next layer, follow the calls to action, and grow in a deeper relationship with us, even on social media and our digital connection with them. Another thing to think about, and much of the content things we're going to go in the next section is about balance. Carol alluded to that a few minutes ago, but a lot of people are coming for different stuff. They're coming at different times of day. They're coming for different types of content. So mix it up. Look at both promoting things, tell stories, ask a question that engages people. But again, if we come with our agenda where we're just come to our event, come to our fundraiser, do this thing, we miss all the opportunity to tell the story of why, to put mission in front of them, to put other calls of action to them, other times of the year besides, the events, the weeks leading up to Relay. So balance that content of what is going to blend both specific calls to action and then the stories of mission and the people in our community that are benefiting from these things. Another topic, fourth one there, is called curate. And this is really a great area, something to think about if you are running your Facebook page. I know there's people in different positions in here tonight, but the same is true for your other social media platforms. But curate is this concept where you gather something that's on another platform or on another account, and you use it on yours, not necessarily stealing it in a copyright way, but that's what that share button is for. Or if you're on other platforms, a regram, a repost, or retweet, it's taking the content that they're using and sharing it on our platform with the algorithm that helps their content show up higher and your content show up higher because it's now a popularity contest and two people like something. So it's going to help there, but really just using that information that's already out there and not trying to rethink it or reinvent the wheel. This is a place where I would suggest and really encourage you follow those main American Cancer Society Relay for Life, and then just the straight American Cancer Society accounts. Follow your regional accounts. Each region has pages, and now even many states and subregions will have, metro areas will have pages and accounts. And those are just things that you can share because that's being pushed. Their graphics are being designed by the national marketing team, and so they're just really solid graphics that have the branding on them. I like what Kendra just did, shared her page. Follow accounts of other Relay for Life pages across the nation. They have different resources. They have different talent on their volunteer team. And I know one of the accounts I follow on Instagram is the Tacoma Relay for Life. I love it because I see ideas, I see great graphics. They have great support that's different than what my event in South Arkansas is able to support. And so you get lots of good ideas by following some of these other accounts. And again, those national accounts, so when it comes to some of our mission things, easy to curate, hit share, and that's a post that you got out in front of your folks without having to design and create something of your own. Another area in that area, and the balance and what's going to make people interact is just think of stories. whether that is stories of people in your community, whether that is stories of the American Cancer Society. We're going to talk about where, but a place like YouTube that's got some great videos out there. Again, stories of what's happening in other communities. That's the great thing about the American Cancer Society is we don't only benefit from what's raised in our town or our region. We are all mutually beneficial when, a protocol is developed in one state, all states get to benefit from that. And so the same is true from some of these resources that you can use to share the story. Share the story of what your event is trying to accomplish. Everyone thinks of this sometimes in terms of a fundraiser and then come out to that thing at the end of the year. Well, there are things that your event is trying to do in a new way, whether that's engage survivors, engage a new business in the community. Maybe you focus in your goals at the beginning of the year in your ELT retreat on seeking out 2 or 3 things that y'all were specifically focusing in on. Tell that story and see if just through sharing a post sometimes you draw some more people in that didn't even know that was the way that they as a business or they as a family group or they as a church could get involved in your relay. They just kind of always thought that was something segmented to certain organizations. So it really gives them a chance. And make sure you're telling the story of what the American Cancer Society is doing to attack cancer from every angle. And that is just wide and varied. And there are just some creative things that are happening, great successes going on with even some of our partner organizations like ACS Can, with what's happening with the smoking and tobacco age. That's just some great successes happening. And those are all things that relay dollars help support and that relayers help support as individuals. And for your sponsors, your team captains, those random people in the town that show up and find out about this thing, those are great stories that compel them in a new way with that. And the next thing I would say there is variety. Mix it up. Things like style, I mentioned earlier, video versus text versus a graphic versus a picture, all of those things. We know that video is getting, and Carol's going to talk specifically about looking at some of those things that help, but try to do different things, whether it's a live video, something you record at a meeting and put out, something someone sends you and you're able to put out, but mix that up in style. Mix it up in topics, things like promote, invite, just do fun stuff every now and then, maybe a challenge of just where do people see purple? It doesn't even have to be specifically relay purple, just something to mix it up, playing with the holidays, things that are going on, a feature story or a series that you might do, recruitment, fundraisers, mission, and of course, just specifically American Cancer Society as a whole. Another way to mix it up and add variety, and it'll, when we talk about insights, you'll see this is to mix up the time of day or the day of week you post. If you're not, posting every single day and you're going to pick 3, maybe mix it up and you'll see where you get the most engagement. And again, as a volunteer, we want to use your time wisely and we want to suggest ways to use your time wisely. And so if you're going to put the effort in, we want you to get back the reward of that going far. And I love Mike's idea, Facebook Live your team captain meetings. That's great because sometimes people can't make it, but they're there. That way people can collect the information that was shared. And it might just help someone see, why they can come in. But I love that, Mike, a great idea of just getting your stuff in front of people. And again, just keeping it brief. Remember that term, digital nuggets. So it's really easy to go, here's the 800 things that the American Cancer Society does. Well, let's break that up into 8 different posts, and each one of those be about it instead of having to list all of them out. Or here's all of the things you need to bring to a campsite pack up, for the event. Let's break it down. Let's do some pictures, but make it those little things. And I would always suggest, again, if the demographic of Facebook is the standard demographic of a relayer, guess what? You're a relayer. So think about how you use these platforms. And so we're sitting at a restaurant waiting for them to call our name. We're, killing time while we're getting an oil change. We're doing something, waiting for the kids in carpool, and just you're scrolling. And if it doesn't catch your eye, you're going to keep scrolling. And that's the same with the people we're trying to draw in or that are already connected to us. So just some things to think about there. And these next 2 slides are taken straight from the social media playbook. We had that question earlier about, is it going, are some things changing with resources? Mike's right. The social media playbook that is on Relay Connect and Brain Toolkit was just updated at the beginning of this year. So 2018, it has been released with some updated content, some new things in it. And that is one of those things that we'll send a link to in the follow-up. It's a big packet, but it is great information and some great tools to heck, in some ways just copy and paste in some of the tool sets, but also just giving you the access to the resources that you need. But it has been updated and is out there. Just a couple things. Again, these two slides. The first one there is just to remind us that images just bring greater engagement. There are, different sizings, and I'll have a cheat sheet in our follow-up that we'll send out, whether you're doing, an event, a cover photo, or your cover photo for your page, or the profile picture, just some things like that. If you're out using some tools, always things on Brand Toolkit, always things on Relay Connect. One of the things that I would suggest, I know several of us are able and capable of doing our own graphics. Look in Brand Toolkit first, look in Relay Connect first, and see if what you want already exists. But there are some great tools like Canva, canva.com, or WordSwag is an app that I use a lot for lots of different things. Both of those are tools that kind of make the non-graphic designer a graphic designer. They have templates that are fantastic. PicMonkey, P-I-C, Monkey, is another great tool, and I'll include these in the follow-up email. But those are just tools that you can use if you're trying to make something, a quick flyer or a quick social media square graphic or photo for Facebook feed, that you can use to, put something visual in front of folks. You're just going to get more engagement. The next thing there is the keep it simple rule. In college, I had a professor, we called it the mini skirt method when it came to our term papers, long enough to cover the topic, short enough to still be interesting. I think it's the same concept as digital nugget, whichever angle you want to come from it. Just remember, people can only consume so much. And frankly, if it looks too long or I have to click that read more, I'm probably going to glaze over and move along. So, that's what you do. Put a call to action in there. If you're going to take the time to tell them, then make sure that you give them a call to action. And the next thing there is the link. I'm going to be really honest. We're all lazy when it comes to switching between platforms and doing different stuff. So if you're saying, don't forget to sign up for Relay, but you don't include that link to the page to sign up for Relay, we're expecting a lot for them to go to relayforlife.org, type in their zip code, try to figure out which event we're talking about. And so do take the step for them. If you want them to take a step, an action step, then they can, then make sure you include that for them so they can just click on it and not have to go dig and do all the extra things. Using hashtags, and again, I don't want to assume who we have on the call, and what's a hashtag is the former pound sign, the artist formerly known as, but it is the number sign, the pound sign, whatever you want to call it. But in social media platforms, putting that symbol in front of a word or a set of words compressed together without spaces makes it searchable. And so much like we talked about the algorithm a few minutes ago, that just makes a term searchable and you become part of a conversation. So you might see on TV when you're watching a show like Dancing with the Stars, and you see DWTS in the corner. Well, what they're doing is encouraging you to go on your social media platform and put that out there, and you can see what's happening. And so the same thing happens. You may have a unique hashtag that you use for your event. You may want to jump into things that happen like Throwback Thursday or Mission Monday, some consistent things that help you be part of a bigger conversation. Of course, hashtag Relay for Life is out there with things that have been going on this year. It just gives you a chance to participate. Ooh, I love Fundraising Friday, FUN, put the fun in fundraising, that's fun. But one thing, let me caution you, and maybe this is from experience, research a hashtag before you use it. If you do not know what a hashtag is and you're trying to get cheeky and creative, it might bite you in the rear. And so just make sure you go research, and you can do it in Google, you can do it within the platform. Just double check, you know, what's going to come up for people if you say, oh, well, just go follow such and such. Make sure you know what they're going to see before you send them to follow that. And that is just, I appreciate the heads nodding and shaking both, you know, it will bite you in the rear. So just make sure you don't misrepresent really yourself, but of course the organization that we love, the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life. But just always do your research. Insights is the next thing there. Carol, talk about that. The biggest thing for us is we don't want you to waste your time, and we want to show you how you can catch that. Remember to keep things mobile friendly. We know that anywhere from 70 to for some groups is up to 90% of people access social media platforms solely on a mobile device. And so when it comes to pictures and how you orient them, again, to that long text, just remember that your audience is looking at this on mobile. And then monitor what you do, see what's working. And if it's not working, try. That's that variety thing I mentioned. If you find out that your folks are on there most active on Saturday mornings, well, don't set all your stuff up, you know, set your key and targeted important actions to happen then, so they interact with them and can follow through and do something. This next slide is, again, lots of information. We're able to pull it from some of our research. The point here is in that little pink arrow, and it says plan, and it talks about the concept of a content calendar. I am type A, firstborn, all the things that make me want to be organized and plan ahead. So I love this. And if that makes you nuts and crazy, I get it. Don't hear me say any specific way to do this, but what I am going to encourage you to do is to do something, whether it is printing something out that you write on it, looking at it once a month. And here's why it's helpful: because you can schedule. Again, you're a volunteer. We do not expect or want, and the organization doesn't either, want you sitting and every day thinking, oh my gosh, I can't go to bed, I didn't post today, or I can't go out and do whatever with my family. The great thing about Facebook is you don't even have to have an extra tool. And there are some fantastic tools out there that you can schedule with. But again, that algorithm, Facebook likes Facebook. And so I would suggest, if you're using one of those tools and using multiple platforms, that you still go schedule your posts directly inside Facebook. And you can do it. There's a little icon when you've got the window up that says, you know, write something here, or what's up today, or whatever they are doing that day on your page. But in the bottom right corner, there's a little symbol that looks like a clock, if you will. It's a circle with part of a piece of pie taken out of it. And that's the way you can schedule. You can actually pick the day, the time on the calendar, and pre-schedule that. So if you don't know that you can do that, go check that out next time. Play with it a little bit. You know, look at how it interacts, and you'll see instead of the word post, it'll switch to the word schedule, and that's how you know that you're you're in the right spot. But it's so nice because if your rhythm allows you to have Monday night while you're watching TV, to get those scheduled for the week or the first of the month for the month. But what's also great about a calendar is you can see where you have some gaps, because again, you can build out your volunteer team underneath you if you're in this chair position, but you don't have to be the only one thinking about social media. So when you know what's happening for the month, you can listen at your team captain meeting. You can listen at your ELT meeting with your calendar out and go, okay, they are going to do paint the town purple. And so they're going to paint, I don't know, yardsticks to put out in front of businesses on the 13th of the month. Well, I'm going to email the guy that I know is in charge of that the night before and say, hey, tomorrow, when you guys are out there, will you remember to send me a picture? And guess what? You don't have to go if that's not in your logistics part to have to do. You don't have to be at everything and take the pictures yourself. But it gives you a chance to say, you know who the contact person is. It's on your radar. It's not necessarily similarly on their radar to give you social media content. But you can get that from them, and you can gather what you need and fill in all those blanks. Or you know where your empty spots are to maybe go check something you need to curate, and you need to share from one of those national pages, or fill in the blanks with what's there. So again, I'm not going to tell you how to calendar. I'm not going to tell you what tool you have to use. well, you don't have to use anything. I'm just going to tell you for sanity purposes that it will increase your efficiency. It'll keep you out of the crazy zone in a volunteer role. And it'll help you share the load of gathering and curating that content so that you're not the only one doing it all and feeling so overwhelmed because, again, it's a volunteer role. We don't want you working all the time. And for many of you, I know you're probably like me, you work in this field and it's why you're in your volunteer position. And so we want this to be something fun and a way for you to breathe and do something you love for an organization you love instead of being one more thing. All right. We keep talking about this word curate. And so I'm going to give you just a couple buckets, if you will, of where you can get some content. Again, we don't expect that you are the master expert on the American Cancer Society and everything that's going on, plus the master expert on everything going on in your local event or in your community. So here's some places that are some tools that you can add in and help you. One of those is Relay Connect, and it's, I will send the link if you don't know, just Google, I actually should have it bookmarked, but I just always Google Relay Connect and it comes back. It has gotten better and they're continuing to do more. I talked to my region volunteer lead last week. He was headed to a meeting with some, and he got some feedback that they're doing some more administratively to even clean it up a little bit further, which is exciting. But frankly, you can just go to Relay Connect, and the same will be true with Brand Toolkit. These are administered by some folks in the American Cancer Society. Brand Toolkit doesn't have anybody else adding to it. Relay Connect does have volunteers that add stuff to it. But if you are looking for things, this last month, it was, Skin Cancer Awareness Month is May. Well, I typed that in there and I got back some great resources, a mission packet of information and graphics that were already done. I know slip, slap, slop exists tied to that. And so I typed that in as a search term and got back some great resources. So we don't want you to have to feel like you have to just create everything that you need. These are two places that you can go and get that information. Both require you to just set up a login, but then that part of what's great with that, it allows you to save that information, interact with it in groups or different things like that you can become a part of. Another tool right there in the middle is called the Relay Communicator. And that's actually something that is put together every month by the volunteer team that I'm on, which is the communications team. And we partner with staff and with volunteers to get information. But if you are not seeing that, it should be going down and out every month to anyone that is on a local ELT. And I keep using that term, which is the event leadership team. In the past, we've called that committees, event committee. They're interchangeable and kind of officially they're ELTs, but it has articles. And what I love about it, for your sake, it's just articles that could be simply shared as a direct link to that article and gives you just content. And we try to have at least 10, and sometimes, we try to keep it to 10. So there's potential of 10 posts you could have in a month that are things you could share and have to put out on your account. But if you're not getting that, let us know, or I would suggest directly connecting with your event chair, who's for sure getting it, and just ask if they get it and you're not, to forward it to you. And like I said, that's 10 to 14 articles every month. That is just something you could automatically have as content. Two other things there we've talked about a little bit throughout the call. One is the Facebook master accounts. And again, that is the master accounts for the American Cancer Society. And then I believe Relay for Life is actually listed as American Cancer Society Relay for Life. You can tell from the graphic of their profile pic what we're talking about. But also, again, your regional areas have a page, as well as some states have those. Just great resources for you to get information to share. There's a question been asked about the Relay Communicator, a place to sign up for it. It just started this year, so it's, if you've been on the ELT and you've never gotten it before, it just started really cranking out at the beginning of the year. What I would suggest, if you're not receiving it, you need to connect with your staff partner and make sure they have you put into the system as an ELT member, because the only way we can regulate how to communicate out to folks is through that kind of system that we have. And so I would make sure you connect directly with your staff person. The other thing is they're posted to Relay Connect every single month. So if you went to Relay Connect right now and you typed in Relay Communicator, the issues that have been created are posted on there. It does come out at the end of the month. So if you say May issue, you're not going to find anything. But the April issue came out, I think, the last day of the month, and it's sitting out there. And that's intentional. We try to put it out at the end of the month with information for the following month. We're crazy concept, trying to get ahead of what's to come. So if you're not getting it, then know the last week of the month it comes out. So you might check the first couple days of the month for the latest newsletter if you're not getting it. Great question. So if you guys have things, just make sure you put them in the chat box and we'll try to answer them as we go. Another question that was asked while we were doing this for those that are only on the phone was if there's a calendar where we know what mission focus is each month. And we do have that, and we'll include it in the content in our follow-up email. So if you've not either sent me a chat directly with your email address or put it in the main box, make sure you do that so you can get the follow-up content. And the last thing listed there is YouTube. And the reason we have it on here, it's just a great resource. Again, people interact with videos, they're professionally done. And what I would just say is I would encourage you either to fully watch a video if it is not part of the American Cancer Society or Relay for Life account who has posted it. But so if you would watch that, I remember one time my community wanted to show like a $5 video, like what does $5 do? And it was a fantastic video. At the end of the video a video was created by a college team, and the end of the video just had all of their information about their relay event and how to sign up for it. And so we just had to say, we can't use that video on Facebook because we're going to point them to the wrong spot. So if it is a video that's not from the American Cancer Society or Relay for Life's official accounts, I would really encourage you to watch it all the way through so you know, again, kind of like the hashtag thing earlier, you don't want that to bite you in the rear. You want to make sure what's getting posted. And again, we have to look at our Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram accounts as kind of official business brand pages, and they're sub-brand pages of the American Cancer Society. And so we just don't want to invite bad messaging. The end. All right. Another thing, next thing listed here is this concept of user-generated content. It's definitely something that I would kind of say kind of falls back into our little, maybe our nerdy kind of linguistics. But here's the deal. User-generated content is what's driving these algorithms. It's where everything has gone. And what you're wanting to do is let the voice of your audience lead you back, but what's really lead you back to you. And here's why, because again, it's a popularity contest when it comes to the tagging of these things. And so I hate to say that, it sounds like prom, we're coming out of that season, but it is what it is. And so the more something is interacted with, the more likely it is to show up in more people's newsfeed. And so that's that whole trending concept, or when something goes viral. It's really when something like this happens where people just get involved. And so where we're going to go with it and what we're going to encourage you guys is to get your people at your team captain meetings, at your, obviously your ELT, but interact with these folks. So when you get a new sponsor, follow them, follow their page, say it's a bank, follow the bank's page, and when they come on as a sponsor, thank them on your page and tag them in it. Because guess what? Anyone who follows both of you, that thing is more likely to show up in their page. But also, because you tagged them in it, the people who follow them are going to see your post. And so it becomes this cycle where when you tag the American Cancer Society, it makes their page and people see their page. But also, how great if it was like tonight, for instance, while we were sitting here, one of the things I was doing is I posted on Facebook on my personal page a screenshot of us sitting here waiting on the computer and just said, I'm so excited tonight about leading an at American Cancer Society training with my staff partner, Carol Roeder. Looking forward to, you know, partnering with Relay for Life volunteers across the nation. Well, all that gave me an opportunity to do is, depending on the privacy settings and how they have that set up, is I'm just more connected to, you know, to what's going on with them, and it makes their page show up more. I feel like I'm talking in circles, so I don't want to be confusing. My main thing here is to say, let's encourage our folks connected to us inside out. Let's just teach them about tagging when they're headed to an event. Like, have them say, headed to an at Relay for Life of DeQueen, Arkansas. That's the name of my event, however I had it posted in there. And then it's going to let people who follow them see that this thing exists locally. And it just begins to create this cycle of them putting out stuff that tags us in it, and our popularity of our page increases. I'm sorry, I really feel like that was confusing. I don't mean to, but I think what I would just encourage is, you know, get that opportunity at your committee meeting, get that opportunity at your team captain meeting, get your folks to follow you, and then talk about just the power of them sharing your content, the power of them interacting with your content, what that will do to make your community's page just show up in the feed of others, and will just help you kind of multiply the efforts that you're doing as you go through all of that. All right, I am going to toss it to Carol here and let her talk a little bit about engagement and what we do to measure some of that.
Unmute me. There we go. Hey, you know, if Keisha is type A when it comes to calendars, my type A comes out in analytics. So, but I'm going to be really, really fast because I want to leave some time for this call and for some engagement or interaction. But on this slide, for my team, followers are the name of the game. And we know that followers come from engagement, and that means an assortment of likes and shares and clicks and reach and videos and impressions. All of those work together, and they create that cycle of adding followers. And for you, for all of us, followers mean more registrations, more participants, more teams, more sponsors. And one of the things that I learned this last year, when I wasn't sure followers was such an important data point, is your sponsors will appreciate your followers, because when you recognize your sponsors on your community page and you have more followers, more people are seeing them, and that's a stronger appeal. So followers are important. That comes from engagement, and engagement comes from interaction on your site with likes and shares. And it's also using all those tools that Keisha talked about a few slides ago. So let me show you what I mean in terms of engagement, so you can see where it makes a difference. So if we go to the next slide, this one caught my attention, and it's amazing. It's relevant to followers, and that's why it generated so much activity. More than 3,200 people reacted to it. It was shared more than 1,000 times, and it logged over 100 comments. And that's when I took the snapshot, which was a week or so ago. That's engagement, and that's what's going to grow followers, and that's what's going to grow your ranking in that darn algorithm. And this slide shows, it includes some of those tips and tools that Keisha mentioned earlier. So there's such tiny little things you can do to each one of your posts that will make a difference. So I'm hoping that you're picking up on those, and Keisha's going to show you specifically what those look like in a few minutes. Let's go to the next slide, because we want to know where you can reach your insights or your analytics. But before I go to insights, right next to insights on the screen is called publishing tools. If you all are familiar with that, when you go into publishing tools, you can schedule all your posts in advance. And you can see, I mean, you can turn that into your calendar. It could work for you. in any case, I digress. I'm talking about analytics, and analytics are in the insights section of your Facebook page. And if you go here, you click on it, this is what shows up. And it's a list of all your posts, and they tell you how well you're performing or they are performing. So most posts that generate a strong organic reach and a strong engagement rate are those that speak to the community, those that are relevant to the community. These are the ones that are probably you and your voice telling your best friends why relay is important to you and why you want them to join you. It usually includes a photo or two or a video. Take a look at the one that's marked with the red star. That one there shows an engagement rate of 10%. 10% is not easy to hit. And when you get there, it means you are doing all the right things. So go back to, if you take away one thing, and Keisha, I don't know what slide it is. It's your slide with the 6 buckets. If you take, no, I'm sorry, before that, the tips, this one here. If you take nothing else from this entire presentation, these little tips make your post relevant, drive up your engagement, increase your followers, and really build your community out. So when you get this deck of slides, take a look at that and just check it off. Did I include the URL? Did I include some tags? Is this interesting to people? Is this shareable? So, and now we can go back to where I left off. But in any case, these are the analytics, and these really tell you how you perform and how you're doing and if you're really making an impact in your community. So we've got a little time left, but there's a couple in this deck that really did a great job, and we wanted to share them with you so you can see what people did right and where they have an opportunity to increase or to enhance their posts to get the most engagement.
Yeah, and before I switch to that, I do want to recognize we're almost at the top of the hour, and we just have a couple of these to look at. One question that came up in a previous training, and I just want to touch base on it while we're here, was about paid promoting or boosting a post. And again, that is something, we'll tell you kind of the same thing we told that group. That's something that you'll want to interact with your local either staff partner or event leadership team to see if you have the dollars to do that. We would both admit to you that Facebook advertising, if you will, or boosting a post is cheap. And you can get a lot of good return depending on what's going on in I know Strides, it's built into part of their structure is to do some things. So if you saw something that was getting good engagement, then you guys might consider boosting it. We'll look at this one specifically here in a minute. And I would have said, even though this has good engagement, this is specifically not one I would boost. But if you had the same kind of thing on a different post that we might look at and you were getting good engagement, you can do it for a really small amount of money. And what came back in that group as a suggestion, and I thought it was fantastic, you might approach in your role someone who might consider being a social media sponsor. Add that to your list of sponsorship opportunities that you have, and go recruit somebody who, as a business, might give sponsorship dollars that you could partner with your ELT and have them be then dollars that you guys can use throughout the year to boost posts or to run an ad and maybe build. That's the great thing about your role. You get to be strategic in owning it and being creative with what you can do with the goals that your team has that year. So again, if your beginning of the year goals were to engage survivors or to get a new segment of your community involved, this could be a really great way to do it. But I would encourage you. Kendra's making a really great point. You can't just use the word relay. You've got to spell it out. You've got to pay attention if you're going to boost and your audience is a non-relay audience. or is different than your like audiences, you've got to make sure they know what it is. And so again, if you're going to boost, make sure you have it tied to that. If you're going to run an ad, make sure you are spending your dollar on something strategically. But we really recommend that you partner with your local ELT and your staff person to see where those dollars come from. Or you may find personally, another suggestion that came, that may be a way that you give a donation to your event, is to boost that and have that go directly. But because it's come up before, I just wanted to address it before we came off of this, and just say that those are kind of decisions you make locally, event by event, with what you're going to do.
Hey, Keisha, you make a good point. And if I can share one more tip related to boosting, my recommendation, and I do this with my team here, and that is before you boost it, post something and watch your engagement and your reach. If it's successful organically, then you should put some money behind it. But if it's not performing, don't expect your boost to make it do anything.
That's a great point. That's a really great point. And just think through the picture, the quality, all of those things. If you're going to put the money behind it, make sure they're there. And at the same time, all of these other things we've talked about, if you're in a community where you don't want to put the money behind it, if you'll put these things into place, they'll work. And that's what's amazing about some of the nonprofit world, is you can get an organic reach that a lot of businesses would seek, just by the nature of knowing who your audience is and doing what you can. So we're going to, just to finish this out here, I've got kind of 5 examples, and I just want to look at them together, and let's share in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, either way, let's just talk about what are highlights, what are things they did really well, and then we'll switch over to opportunities, and let's just learn together and look at, kind of evaluate through the filter of the stuff we've talked through tonight. So here is the first one. This is a screenshot from earlier in the year. You can see on the right-hand side, there's stats on it, the initial stats. What do you guys see are some of the highlights? Probably some of the things. This is 24% engagement. So what do we think they did well that made that happen? You can type in the box or unmute and share, either way. Tagged people. Yes, you see at the top it said a person and then 3 others, so there was 4 names tagged there. That's great. Lots of pictures. Action shots, those are all good pieces of feedback. Fun photos, I completely agree. I think I'm gonna tag onto the fun photo one. I think they were so smart in the first picture they loaded, and remember that'll play into you can see here what a series of pictures did. A group of girls having fun at Relay, lots of branding. It just looks like something I'd want to be a part of. And so I think, they do that. I love that purple. So people who see this know, they assume Relay before they even have to read the words. That's a really great point. Anything else that you guys see was a great, probably helped some of the engagement? What about opportunities? What did they maybe miss, or could they have done to, increase even further? Oh, that's good. Someone else posted, they told us what it was about. So we Party with a Purpose was a new name, so they told us what it was about. All right, so some of the opportunities being listed and shared are using the hashtag Relay for Life, or just other hashtags that people might search and pick up. Maybe showing a video of what's going on, especially since you see such a great action. That's true. Posting how to donate, how to join, how to participate. I love that, because check out the pictures becomes the call to action here, where these folks could have gotten involved. Linking to the event page. Those are all really great. Okay, you guys are on it. So I'm gonna jump to the next one. This is that post we talked about just a minute ago that got the 10% engagement rate. What do you guys think, maybe why, now that you can see it bigger, what do you think maybe helped with that engagement rate? Or what's the highlights here? Why do we think this was a better than some of the ones they did? Video, for sure. This was a video post, so that totally is what got people coming to it, interacting with it. What else? A smiling face. This pings you. You can tell your friend that it was a live video. Absolutely. What you can't see probably, this was actually at Christmas, they were doing a giveaway. And so this was day 10. Now, we don't know if they started at 25 and went backwards or if they went from 1 to 25. But either way, it was an ongoing thing. So it was drawing people back, potential of winning. It was a giveaway. So Mike is sharing that, is it Paul Baker is an online legend. So that helped that he knows what he's doing. He's got his stuff out there. What else? What are some opportunities maybe that they could have done to potentially get some more engagement? I think one of the low-hanging fruit where you guys are typing is there's no tag at all. Like, is this the shortest caption maybe of all time outside of it just saying day 10? So if someone was tagged and they didn't know what was going on here, they missed that. So definitely a tag would have been huge. Even tagging the person that won. It looks like they did the drawing. Now, if they did this live, so, they had to go back and add that in the caption or something. Yeah, day 10 of what? It just says day 10 TV time. Either way, they could have probably gotten some more. How can I get in this? If they're going to still let people enter. Link to the event page. Absolutely. Let people get involved and see what's going on. What are we drawing for? What are we raising money for? So just some obvious there. Still got some good engagement. So definitely we see the power of live video, but some fun things that could have been done with it. And absolutely, I love that idea. Thanking the donor of the raffle item that they did the drawing. So yeah, just connecting back to that person. It gives a great appreciation opportunity. All right, next one. Some things that you guys see that they did well. I mean, this 32% engagement rate. I would kill for that. I used to work in social media for my job, and I would love to get that kind of engagement. So what do you guys think that they did well? Anybody see anything related to Target? Tag the Chamber of Commerce. That is the best. Yeah, they did their location. So that was huge. They also connected there to a charity league. So that was that's probably your demographic. They told us what it was about and where they were. Absolutely. You guys. There was thank you, there was a thank you and a recognition moment. Yeah, let's be honest, girls, that Kendra Scott draws us in every time. So they put that up front. They did that big picture that got us lots of branding to see, what's going on. That does alone just draws people in. What about some opportunities? Notice anything about the last word in their caption? Yeah. Spelling is just a big thing. We all do it. Tonight I misspelled a couple words typing fast in the chat as we started out. So, a great point there. Like, where are they? This was posted at 9:22 a.m. So is this just happening? And could I come join the rest of the day? That's a great point. Is this something that was going on all day, or was it already over? That's a really great, and I think, they mentioned the Zachary Chamber of Commerce, they mentioned the Charity League, but they didn't tag them. And my goodness, imagine how many people are following that. That's a whole group of people that are connected. So that's just another opportunity, and probably some of the people in the pictures they could have tagged and done that. All right, I think I've got one more before we tie it up. This 6% engagement, but maybe some things either side. we'll give you just one more. This is a fundraiser they did, so we hadn't looked at that. Yeah, there's a lot happening on the image. That's a really great point. I think, to me, this one had probably a lot of potential to have been a good boost potentially down the road. However, yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the picture. So it could have been, but it's big. It totally catches your attention. You're right. There's not tags on any of the businesses. I think they did a good job keeping it short. They asked a question that drew my attention in. They explained what was happening in a quick, fun sentence, and then, one team that they could have tagged to do that, and then all proceeds, benefit the American Cancer Society. So this one had lots of potential. I think tagging, not just a business, I think they could have also tagged the person who was a team captain. And I love the point that someone made here is there's two great points. One is the colors do draw my attention, and it keeps it short. I like when the picture and the caption both say the same thing. So whether I read or I look at the image really quick, but a really great point is how do I get them to do this? There's no phone number. There wasn't an email address, anything like that. So just some good things that I think just help us, unfortunately by evaluating other people, we kind of learn for ourselves, but it does give us that viewpoint. A couple things on the screen here, just as reminders, look at what you're doing, evaluate yourself. Ask somebody, maybe look with your ELT or something like that, and just make sure that the stuff that you're doing is making impact, and look at those insights. If you're only posting once a week, maybe consider posting 2 or 3 times a week. If you're posting 2 or 3 times, maybe consider expanding it to 5. Just give yourself a little bit of push, set yourself a goal, and whether that's the number of posts you make, the types of posts you make, the engagement that you're getting. But just remember, this is one of those great things that you have to leverage with your community when you're looking for donor dollars and teams, that this is a platform and a place that you can help promote them. And so, partner with your ELT to say, hey, when you guys are putting your sponsor packet together, make sure you include that this could be one of the places. Something if you've not heard it from your event or from your region, you'll want to reach out with your staff partner, whomever that is, and make sure you add that administrator, add that region as administrator, because when we have turnover in events and stuff, that's really hard. Or make sure someone, if you move out of this position, that you connect with them so that access to your account is not lost, and the things that you build, your community behind you can continue to do. But remember variety, remember to balance, and remember that our goal is to keep you supported, and we don't want you to be in a place where you're working too much as a volunteer, because we want you to have fun while you do this. And again, this is the platform where a lot of people intersect with Relay for Life for the first time, and frankly, hear the story and the powerful story of what these dollars do, and how cupcakes go into things that save lives. And I'll tell you, the protocol that I took as a cancer patient was developed by American Cancer Study research team. And so, in 1985, when that was developed, we didn't know about Facebook and things like this to exist. But I tell you now, the things that you're doing in your platform is something that helps get the word out to these other communities. So I just want to say thank you. I know folks are having to drop off, and that's good. There's a couple questions here that I'll address real quick, and then if you guys have anything else, we can touch on it. Someone said, where do I see the engagement rate on Facebook? I'm going to jump back a couple slides just to show you. When you go to your Facebook page, if you're an administrator, you'll see right here along the top, you see something that no one else sees when they're on your page. And if you'll click on that word Insights, then you get to something like this. And this screen, you can change, you see the little drop down arrow at the top, you're able to change what some of the things that are showing, but the engagement rate is that column right there. Also, I'll tell you, when you click in on a specific post, if you were to click in on that in blue, if you're wondering how do you get this information that's on like the right side of the screen here, that's when you click on a specific post as an administrator, you pull it up and it'll show you what you posted on the left, and then the performance information is there on the right. Someone asked if we covered scheduling and events. We didn't get into that specifically just because we were kind of going high level. We have discussed what a 2.0 version of this might look like. If you're looking to do that from a scheduling post perspective, again, on this screen, when you as an administrator are on your page, you can use the Publishing Tools tab that's right there next to Insights. And another way to do it is actually just below this big picture on your your page would be the box where it says write something here or something like that. When you're typing that message, then you would be able to, in that bottom right corner, there's a little icon that looks like a clock, and you're able to do some scheduling there. But Kendra, I see that you've done some training with that, so we may partner. We may be talking soon, and use your experience and expertise of already teaching some folks that. I'd love to that be potentially part of a 2.0 training that we can do, and that's the exact kind of thing we need when we do the survey from you guys is some more ideas. But thanks for your time tonight. If you have questions, we'll hang here for a minute and keep asking them. We'll do a follow-up. Just appreciate the feedback, and if you guys have more ideas of what would be helpful, we'd love to build some more trainings and keep a good thing going. So thank you guys for your time tonight. Carol and I'll hang for a minute if you have questions, but y'all have a good evening. Glad y'all enjoyed it. Thanks for spending your evening with us. If you know anybody, we're doing it tomorrow again at noon Central. So if you have people that need to come, they can participate again tomorrow during the day. We tried to do that as well. So you can share that login information from the email I sent. It is hard, girl. I hear you. It is hard for times when we have to share them, but we had to pick.